Hi Virgo, great to see you. Come on in. Hey, you're just in time for your Virgo 2020 yearly reading and forecast. And I've been doing some spiritual work, as you've probably gathered. And what I'll do is I'll bring a lamp across and shine it down onto the cards when we read them, so you get a good idea of, and get to see this beautiful artwork that's on these cards while I do the readings for you. Now I'm going to draw one card for each of the months, okay? And let's get things underway. That'll do the job for sure. I think you're going to be stepping into your best year ever. And let's have a good look at this. Now, you know I use a lot of astrology and numerology and mysticism in my readings. There's the Four of Swords. There's the Page of Cups. And if you want to, I do monthly readings, of course. So I do a reading for each of the star signs for each of the months, the Four of Wands and the Two of Cups. So if you subscribe, of course, then you get notified of them. But if you don't, just search for me. That's if you want to see anything. And there's the Queen of Swords. There's the Four of Discs. Now, what can we also see here for you? Let's take something from there. Oh, there's the Star card. I love that card. Do you wonder what the Star has to say for you? There's the Four of Cups. I wonder what that has to say for you as well. There's the Empress. You know, I really love the energy of the Empress. I'll tell you why when we get to it. I think it's an extremely important card, particularly for women. And I think it's very reaffirming for women. At least the way I see it, it is. There's the Magician. And he is looking very magician-like there. Not at all traditional. There's the Devil card. The Devil card. The Devil card is usually very good. It, of course, depends on the other cards around it. But next to the Magician, it's fantastic, I can assure you. Usually a bit of sex involved as well, I'll mention. But and there's the Seven of Wands to finish. Look, why don't you come down then, as I say, sit down next to me. I'll bring that light across, shine it down on the cards. We can have a look at the imagery together while I do the reading for you. All right, my Virgo, here we go. We go January through to June and July through to December. Now, let's start first with January, and here we have the Four of Swords. Well, quite an interesting looking pastoral scene, really, isn't it? The Lord of Rest from Strife is what I call this card. It is Jupiter ruling the third decan of Libra, that period the 14th to the 22nd of October. Now, Libra tries to find balance in our lives. The need for balance can sometimes induce unrest, and Jupiter gives a period of rest from a difficult situation, as well as opening the higher mind's flexibility, which is needed to resolve some conflicts, I think, which will be going on in your life. They'll all be sorted out because Jupiter allows you to move on. The main point here is that your mind will be negotiating some temporary resolution to things at the moment, I think. It's actually a very good card. I think that in January there are a lot of things. There's a lot of hangovers from the holiday period. And this is really, if you like, a mental health break that you are going through here. You need the time to take time out from stressful situations, even a holiday to recharge the batteries. Some of the things that are in the background may not go away, but what this is saying is that some time out from them is necessary. Now make the most of this mental health break in January, but don't put off what needs to be done or dealt with, as unavoidable things can grow to become bigger or become more challenging. But trust your intuition to know when is enough rest for you, and make the most of this rest period, I think, for you to be at your strongest when you need to meet such issues that arise and come to hand. That's very much the energy that's coming there. It's a good mental health sort of a break. Here in February, we have the page of what? Of Cups. The Page of Cups. Well, the first thing that I'll say is that esoterically, pages are represented by the element of earth, and cups, of course, is the element of water. And so we have the earthy part of water as the elemental dignities that are surrounding the energy at the present time. I think the people who may well be important to you during this period in February are Scorpio, Sagittarius, or Libra. I think that, I refer to this person as a she. I think that this represents a young woman who's very gracious, voluptuous, sweet, gentle, kind, and romantic, and sort of dreamy in a way, I think. This page represents the earthy part of water, as I say, and in particular the faculty of crystallization. She represents the power of water to give substance to an idea, to support life, and to form the basis of chemical combinations. So what she's representing really is that she represents the crystallization of an idea. I call her the princess of the palace of the floods. Now, superficially, she might thought to be selfish and lazy, but this is really a false impression, I think, because she goes about her work silently and effortlessly. Look, I think that this is saying to me that I think that you will find that in this period, you are going to be actually quite romantic, you know. You're going to be sweet, gentle, kind. You will have great depth, just as the ocean has great depth. But be careful that you don't get too carried away with romance, as this page here, I think, has her eyes shut to the environment. What you do need to do is to, of course, and following this period of taking time out for a mental health break that we discussed over here, just make sure that you do maintain the progress of your life and ensure that you continue to be engaged in life. Now, it's okay to be dependent on others during this period. It's quite all right to be dependent on others because you always give a lot in return. Now, in March, we have the Four of Wands. Well, I love the number 4 because the number 4, in a numerological sense, to me, represents power. It represents stability. It represents foundation. And it represents, if you can imagine a castle, I suppose, then one might say, well, really, it's reminiscent of the strength of a castle. Now, I call this card the Lord of Perfected Work. It is Venus ruling the third decan of Aries, that 10th to the 19th of April. Now, what happens is, I'm getting a lot of emotion around this card as well, and this is spilling over, I think, from this Page of Cups that we just had a look at there. I think this page is bringing that emotional energy is continuing into this month, and I have a feeling of emotion, and I'm getting the sign of Venus in here as well, and Libra. Well, Venus rules two signs in ordinary astrology, doesn't she? She rules Taurus and she rules Libra. But I'm not getting that materialistic sense of Taurus. I'm actually getting that more emotional sense of Libra. And so I see Venus moving to the diametrically opposed side of the zodiac. You know when the astrologers do those horoscope wheels and they set out the signs? Well, what happens is Venus goes from her rulership of Libra all the way over into Aries. Now, in ordinary astrology, that means that Venus is in detriment. Now, in Aries, of course, Aries is ruled by Mars, and so Venus comes in to sit alongside Mars, and Venus and Mars generally do not get on. But because you have this, let me have a look here, because you have this beautiful energy of the Page of Cups here, and you are followed by this Two of Cups here, I don't think that there's going to be a problem between Venus and Mars. I'll get to this Two of Cups in just a second. In fact, I think what happens is that Venus uses her feminine wiles and charms to pacify the ordinarily aggressive masculine nature of Mars, such that there is some sort of a opposites attract type of energy going on. So I think what could well happen is that you may well find that you start noticing someone that you have looked at before and dismissed, but this time you're looking at them and you're looking at them again and they look back at you. There may be an aspect of someone's character that didn't appeal to you before, but now you find that, oh, it does, actually. I'm looking at them in a new light. Or it may well be that there is a new pursuit that you hadn't considered before, or having considered it, decided against it. And this could be by way of a hobby, it could be by way of a friendship, it could be by way of activity connected with the workplace. And you go ahead with it, you try it. Not only do you try it, but you find that you really enjoy it. The other thing that I see here is that I think that you could have an emotional desire, that's the Venus aspect, to move in a new direction, which is Aries, because Aries is all about pioneering and setting off and going into new areas. So it could also be that you find yourself, in a way, well, kind of spoiled for choice, I think, that there may be one part of you that wants to head off in this direction, say almost out like along that branch, and another aspect of you wants to head in this direction with this branch, and yet there's another side of you that actually wants to stay still where this trunk is concerned. But in any event, the decision that you make there is very positive and very favorable due to the cards which are on either side of it, and also this card of the Empress which is underpinning it. Great placement of cards. See, of course, the placement of cards is very important in readings, as you probably know, as much as other things, and the astrology, as you can tell. Now here we have the Two of Cups. Well, the Two of Cups, what can I say about the Two of Cups? Well, if I were to sum this card up in a pithy statement, I would just say that this is the union of hearts. It portends great love, because I call this card the Lord of Love. It is Venus in the first decan of Cancer, at 21st of June to the 1st of July. Now, Venus is the most receptive of the planets. It's about love, it's about beauty, and it's about relationship. And Cancer is about nurturing, comfort, and supporting. And so you'll find that your readiness to receive love makes you very attractive to your partner and to other people. Surrender to yourself and to life during this period here. I think that what we see here is that there is the beginning of harmonious relationships. Now, they don't only have to be emotional relationships, with close romantic relationships or within a partnered relationship. They can also be friendships. They can also be work relationships, people that you work with. You could have a romantic relationship with someone that you work with. A lot of marriages stem from the workplace, don't they? But I think that you will find harmony with relationships with people that you work with. And it's also very good for selling, for those people who are involved in selling things to people, to customers, and for dealing with suppliers. I think for those involved with meditation, you'll be able to access universal love. Look, the love that I'm getting up from this card, this energy, is a love that is both special and equal. You will be able to give and to receive love in equal measure. I think that I'd have this thought in mind during this period. There is nothing to do but enjoy what life offers. I am now ready to let into my life the love relationships which fulfill me. It's also particularly good for family relationships, I must say. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful energy that's there. Beautiful energy. Let's make note of it. When is it? It's in the April period. That's fantastic. Now here we have the Queen of Swords coming in May. Now what does the Queen have to tell us? Well, the first thing that I'll say about the Queen of Swords is this, is that esoterically, queens are water and swords are air. And so we have the watery part of air. Now, you can sometimes have difficulty with that, in that there is air and water can either produce just a still pond, or you could have high seas and rough seas and crashing waves. But she is the queen of the thrones of air, and I see her as being the energy that I'm getting from her. And so I think the people who are going to be of interest to you, and I'm looking at this green, which I associate with the planet Venus, which was there before. It was there before in this card, wasn't it? I saw Venus in Libra there. Well, I'm also getting Libra here as well. So I think that Libra, as a personage, may be someone who's in your life at this time, as is Virgo. Now, her association with Libra connects her to things about balance and adjustment. And it's all about making clear decisions based on fact and fairness, similar to what I think the Queen of Swords herself is like. I think that as a person, she is someone who is graceful, very perceptive, a keen observer, a subtle interpreter, an intense individualist, and confident and gracious. People like her can acquire intense love and devotion from the most unexpected quarters. And I think that is something which may well be happening to you as well. I think that what it's saying to you is that you need to use your intellect to make an unbiased decision about a situation. Compassion and empathy may distract you, so you must go with your head and not with your heart. It's not a time to beat around the bush in a situation. Decide to act and cut through old patterns and masks. This is also very much saying that you should, during this period, have the courage of your convictions, because, frankly, you're right, and that's the end of it. Okay, let's have a look at June. Now here we have the Four of Discs. Well, the comments that I make about the number 4 are as I made before, and they apply equally to this card. I call this card the Lord of earthly power, and it is this sun in the third decan of Capricorn, that 13th to the 21st of January. Now, Capricorn is a feet on the ground, eye on the prize sign. Those with the sun in Capricorn have a realistic, grounded approach to life that can be seen, no matter how problematic the rest of their birth chart may happen to be. Here, the sun, so I've got the sun in Capricorn, and the sun energizes the Capricorn earth. These discs are the suit of earth as well. Capricorn's also an earth sign. So the sun is really energizing this Capricorn earth, and material benefits and power are the result. The sun in astrology is the symbol of your dynamism or power, and Capricorn is the application of that power in a useful way. So what I'm getting here is strong foundations, stability, a tight rein on the budget, actually. I think you'll be... When I say a tight rein on the budget, I don't think that things are going to be difficult. I think what is going to be happening is that you are actually going to be planning what you spend money on. You'll be financially cautious, protecting yourself and protecting your financial position is what I get. I think that there is what we have... that castle feeling that I was getting before can also be a sort of a sanctuary for you where you can go inside and find your inner voice. Or it could be materialistic and something to show off to other people. Now, you may be tested, I think, during this period not to give up your personal power. And you will need to discriminate about where and to whom to say no. I think sometimes, you need to pull that drawbridge up in that castle and stay within your inner sanctuary so you don't give too much of yourself away. But really, material and financial security is going to be very important to you during this time. And you have solid foundations for that material security. I see that you'll be able to, there's the seeds here for acquiring assets as a result of sound judgment and wise investment. I think you'll be very willing to work for what you want, and you'll have confidence in applying yourself to the world. I think other people are going to see you as being a very dependable person with a great deal of integrity. And I do see that you will have the fulfillment of your personal goals and dreams in that month of June. Certainly they're underway. Oh, now have a look at this card here. Here is the Star card. This is, look, there's not really anything bad to say about this energy, I don't think. Here she is, the Star. Well, what can we say about her? Well, the first thing that I'll say about her is that I get a lot of Aquarius coming up from this Star. I don't know why that is, but I'm getting a lot of Aquarius energy, so you may well find that you have dealings with Aquarians during the period. I think also what is the case is that, well, actually, I'll go further than that, because I'm just getting a feeling now for the astrology, and it is really Saturn ruling Aquarius. That's why I have that feeling. So I'm getting Saturn ruling Aquarius with Neptune exalted. Now, Aquarius is all about the individual and uniqueness, and yet it has an overall humanitarian outlook. The Star shares these qualities in that it is trying to remind you about the divinity and uniqueness within you, while encouraging you to be a conduit for bringing down your highest potential. I think that it's also the case that every woman and every man is a star. The the things that are coming through here are hope, happiness, opportunities, and optimism. Really cosmic blessings coming down with you. Help in all forms. You will have a great degree of self-confidence and self-esteem, right? And I think you'll have a desire to bring about something new and to do it well at this particular time. That could be in a number of areas. It could be in cooking, it could be around the home, it could be fashion, it could be hair, it could be something to do with the workplace, or it could be developing something in a community area. I'm just having these words that are just coming through me at the moment, and they are that in the silence of thy night thou art beautiful, my silver one. Dancing go my golden one, ablaze and forth pouring the unending river of the stars. Let me die in thy stream of the many, of the none. Yeah. I think you're being fulfilled and inspired by life, and this is a reminder for you to follow your dreams, being open to love and trust creation and what it brings. I think encouragement is now being given to you that you have had testing times in the past, and that now is the time to move forward with renewed hope and live an inspired life in which you can, in which you can express yourself fully. Yeah, I'd have these thoughts in mind also during this time, and it is, I am a radiant light being. I am a star that walks upon a bigger star. I see what can be of benefit to people in the future. My creative powers of imagination and my connection to the all-encompassing consciousness show me the way to realize my ideas. She is to me the feminine complement to this card, which is later in your reading. So it's very balanced, and it's, again, no coincidence. I mean, this is the male complement of the star, and she is the female complement of this magician, this magus. Now, interestingly, here we have in August the Four of Cups. Boy, you're getting a lot of fours, aren't you? A lot of fours, so there is a lot of stability around. There's a lot of period, and the comments that I make in relation to the fours, really they're the same that are here before. I'm wondering though whether, look, I call this card the Lord of Blended Pleasure. It is the moon in the third decan of Cancer, that 12th to the 22nd of July. Now, in ordinary astrology, the moon rules Cancer, which in a way is, I've got to say, probably about the only really great strength of this card. The underlying message here is that at this particular time, I think that you will want to be emotionally fulfilled in a deeper way, but you're probably going about it the wrong way. Does that make sense to you? I think it will at the time. The moon is, of course, associated with the principle of flux and change, and your own emotional states may be shifting, just like the phases of the moon. Yeah, very much so. I think this is also saying to me that you should be careful of settling for what you have. There could be some degree of inertia creeping into your life here. Some degree, perhaps, maybe of wanting something that you can't have. And the reason is that why it's not coming through to you is frankly because
it's not good for you. I think there is a feeling, though, that you could have some sort of boredom or dissatisfaction in your life. Maybe you're too familiar with your environment. You kind of feel you're lacking motivation or need to set new goals. And I think what's going to happen is that you are going to be looking for material things for happiness, seeking, really temporary pleasure as an escape for feelings of discontent. And sometimes it can be a bit of an issue. I'm just getting an energy around here of substance abuse, so just be careful of that. But what this is also saying to you is to really remember what it is that you do have, the blessings that you do have, because there are others that are worse off from you. But look, it's sandwiched, but look, this is not a big deal, this card, and this is not at all anything to get concerned about, because it's sitting between this fantastic major arcana of the Star and this major arcana of the Empress. And let us just have a look at the Empress here and see what she has to say to us. Well, here's the Empress. Here she is. What do you have to say to my friend, Empress lady? Well, I think what we can say is that, what I will say is that there really are two mother archetypes in the first few major arcana. The High Priestess, who is cold and remote, the empty void or ocean. And then there is the Empress, who is warm and nurturing and overflowing with diversity and abundance. Interestingly, there is a Hebrew letter, which it's not on this card, but it's often associated with the Empress. It's the third letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's called Gimel or Gimel, and it means camel. And it is like a camel going across the desert that the Empress carries her child first in her body and then out into the world through birth. Now, the Empress isn't just the mother to a single child. She is a symbol of the mother of everything, the abundance and fertility of creation. And she carries all things across the void of creation and into the world of manifestation. She takes the child. Let's pull it out a little bit so it doesn't go out of focus. It drives me mad. Now, so she takes this child and she carries it in her body originally, covering it with her flesh, and takes it across the threshold from spirit to matter. She carries it out of the dark forest and into the bright sun. Well, I think what this is saying is that I really do see you having this situation where you are going to be having a lot to do with a mother or with a maternal figure. It could be a maternal figure, or you may be acting as a sort of a maternal figure or a mother-type figure to somebody else. I see you providing counsel and advice to people during this period. I think that people are going to be relying on you, and that you are going to be taking that very motherly sort of aspect on to these people. The daughter of the mighty ones, I call her. I see Venus all around her, and the element that I see is Earth, so Venus in Earth, although traditionally, of course, you don't count the Earth in astrology, but that's where I see it. She really is manifestation itself. Now, I see pregnancy here. I see pregnancy, so you may hear of someone that's pregnant, or you could become pregnant yourself, or you'll hear of it. I think you'll be in touch with the beauty of your life, exploring nature. You'll be a very empathetic and caring personality. And look, I think what she is doing is she is reminding us that spirituality is expressed from the heart and not from the head. You know, spirituality isn't a mental exercise. It's about living life every day, knowing that the divinity is in you and all around you, and just being there. And I think it's also about nurturing other people and making sure that you also nurture yourself. You're very giving to other people. And this is a time where you particularly need to be nurturing yourself. Now, interestingly, here is the male counterpart to the star, which came in July. And this is the magician who I call the magus of power. And just as the Fool card, which is not in your reading this year, but who is given he's given 0 or nothing or no number. This card is given the number 1, of course. The Fool means nothingness. This guy actually means infinity. He means infinity. And what's some of these words that come through me at the moment? What word compares to your unending universe of love? Oh, plant your word in the chalice of my heart, and I will bear you children that shall walk the pathways of the stars and shall know the Father that begat them. Yeah, I'm getting action, power, manifestation of ideas and desires, willpower. I think you will be quite a smooth talker during this period. You'll have the gift of the gab. I do get the feeling of resourcefulness around you when it comes to material affairs. Now, that could include work, so that could involve people who have their own business, I think. What he has, this guy, I think, is also a really good sense of timing and flexibility in all aspects of communications. And I think that this is something that you will have. The energy that I have here is the visual arts, of the arts, and I say arts, it doesn't have to just mean literature, it doesn't have to mean photography, art, writing, but it can also extend to beautification around the house, even gardening, if you have a garden, music, diplomacy. I think you'll have the good ability to see people's communication patterns during this period. So I think that you will have the ability to get inside other people's minds in a way that is almost almost like a sort of a superpower. I'd get it. It almost in a psychic sense, you'll be able to really get inside what it is that other people are thinking and pick up on what the real messages are that are coming. You'll say, well, they're saying one thing, but I really know that they actually have in mind something completely different. And that's what's going to be happening in that period there in October. Then in November, we have whom? We have the devil. This looks like is this a lady devil? Well, the Lord of the Gates of Matter, I call it. Now here, I see Saturn ruling Capricorn with Mars exalted. Now, Mars is normally a problem. Let's be frank. Can we talk? Let's be frank. Mars is normally a problem. But in this situation, and I'm looking at it here with this magician just having come next to him, and beneath this, let's have a look at it, beneath this Queen of Swords, who's quite, there's a lot of strength in this woman. Mars actually is behaving itself in this spread for you, I think, for this month. And what we have is we have Mars really in its best form in the fiery material energy of creation. Certainly a lot of female energy around here. But Saturn ruling Capricorn, well, Saturn rules Capricorn and Mars is exalted in Capricorn in ordinary astrology. Now, Mars governs our sex drive and our creative energy. So there's a very strong link to the material side of life and self-ambition and sex. And on the horoscope wheel that the astrologers do on YouTube, well, Capricorn is opposite Cancer on that wheel at the top, at the winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, around that 22nd to the 25th of December. So there's a link to Christ consciousness here as well. And I'll remind you of this as well. If you spell the word devil, well, the word devil, spell it backwards, and you have lived. So I'm seeing here endurance, blind impulse, irresistibility. I think this card is representing to me something of tunnel vision. This devil's vision is not really... Would you say it's a she? I'd say it's a she, yeah. So her vision isn't distracted away from her attention to some material goal. Now that can relate to a career, ambition, or even just looking after your own best interests. And what it's saying is that you can accomplish a lot if you are focused. Because the devil, she isn't distracted by anything else, and she's just focused on the task at hand. Now, astrologically, Capricorn is the sign of business, career, and worldly success, and social standing. And Capricorns are usually hard-working and high achievers, I think we could say, could we not? Yeah. Think not to hide from me, O beloved one. In thy grotesqueries I see thee behind thy mask. It is thy lovely body which I love, behind these motley veils, this midnight comedy, for there is none other than thee to my eyes, my taste, my touch. Yeah. I would have in mind this. Say, I am a vital, joyful, and grounded person. I enjoy my sexuality, whether my problems are real or imagined. I can handle them realistically and with good humor. It can also mean being sexually attracted to someone, and that can also be within a relationship or the desire for a particular relationship. And I think also to accept that you do have an ambitious side and that there's nothing wrong with ambition. You'll have a strong desire to compete and to improve and to win, but just keep a balance between the material side of life and your emotional and spiritual side of life. Well, then finally we come to December, and here we have this card, the Seven of Wands, huh? Yeah. Well, isn't this interesting? Now, green, I'm looking at this green of the color of the wolf's eyes. Now, green, esoterically, is a color of the planet Venus. And you see the number 7 down at the bottom of the card? Well, that 7 is associated with an area of divine emanation prior to the appearance of the material universe, which is all about pushing forward. It's all about overcoming. It's all about expansion. It's all about making things happen. In a nutshell, it's all about victory, is what it's about. It's about victory. And associated with it, in a planetary sense, is the planet of Venus. So there's the eyes of this dog, and I'm getting Venus there as well. So what else is there here? Well, I get very much Mars in the 3rd decan of Leo, and that's in this Venus-ruled number. Now, Wands is the suit of fire. Now, this far down away from the ace, let's just pull it out a bit so it doesn't go mental. This far down away from the ace, the energy of the fire suit starts to become a little dispersed, a little, raggedy, to say it. And the feminine energy of Venus in this number here, 7, I think further dilutes the strength of fire that's in the suit of the wands. Now Mars in Leo, well, Mars normally likes a Leo, but in this case, being so far down on the tree of life, I don't think that harmony exists. And the feminine energy of Venus doesn't sit well with Mars, as we discussed a little earlier. And you well may think that during this period that it is really only your Mars energy that's keeping you going. Look, I call this card the Lord of Valor. I think what's actually going to be happening is you are going to be incredibly busy. Mars in Leo usually indicates someone acting with authority and power, but in this position, I think what's happening is that you will have authority, you will have power, but you are going to need to dig deep and use all of your resources in what might be something of a trying situation. And I think what's happening is you're just going to have a lot on, is really what I'm getting. A lot on. But the point is that it's all going to turn out for the best. You will complete the matters that you're going through. I mean, there could well be parties, there's work, I see parties, I see social life, I see shopping, I see the whole lot of things coming around, which are, I think, just kind of in a way, just making you tired. They're kind of exhausting you. And I think that's really it, but it's going to work out for the well. This may well be your best year ever. That's the way it is for you.
Well, there you go. That's it. Your 2020 annual reading done. I tell you what, I think that this is going to be your best year ever. I really do have that feeling about it. I've got to say that the vibe that's come out of that reading of yours is very, very positive, and you should be looking forward to this year. By the way, I just want to say also that you've been fabulous. You've been great, and in fact, you've been brilliant, and you've played your part of this exercise to perfection. And I thank you for that. Look, really, all that remains for me to say is this: that you are a legend, and I hope I see you in my monthly readings. Subscribe if you want, but check out the videos anyway. Till then, bye for now.